a resilient agricultural sector, sowing and reaping for Jamaica's prosperity. Government is employing strategies to ensure farmers harvest the fruits of their labor. We update you on some of these measures today in Jamaica Magazine. Hello, I am Theodore Henry, and it all starts now.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chizom and this is your JRS News for Thursday, December 17. Cabinet has approved a contract with China Harbour Engineering Company to design, improve and construct sections 1A and 1B of the Southern Coastal Highway.
This will involve work from Harbour View to Morant Bay as part of the overall segment from Harbour View to Port Antonio. The existing main road along the southern coastal section of the island has been in a generally poor condition. The alignment, surface condition, and drainage are in need of major improvement.
Work on the 43-kilometer roadway from Harbourview to Morant Bay is estimated to cost $385 million.
A section of the highway will also be constructed to accommodate 4 lanes, and major structures are to be built, including 16 bridges, 1 flyover, 1 subway, along with new pipe and box culverts.
The Information Minister was speaking at Wednesday's Jamaica House media briefing. The project is funded by the China Exim Bank. It's being accommodated through a 5-year public sector investment program from 2016 to 2021. With the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund IMF confirming that Jamaica has passed the 10th straight test, the country is set to receive another $39.3 million under the Extended Fund Facility. In a statement, Deputy Managing Director and Acting Chair of the IMF, Min Zhu, said the Jamaican authorities had an impressive track record of strong program implementation. The board also confirmed that Jamaica's primary surplus target would be reduced from 7.5% to 7.25% in this fiscal year and 7% in 2016-2017. This will give the government about $4 billion more to spend in the first instance and $8 billion more in the second. The IMF said the relaxation of the primary surplus target was to increase growth-enhancing capital expenditures while continuing to protect social spending. The police have seized over 155 guns and close to 2,000 rounds of ammunition under the Get the Guns campaign. A release from the Corporate Communications Unit of the Jamaica Constabulary Force says the statistics show an average of 1 gun seized per day since the official launch of the campaign on September 17. 34% of the guns were seized in the Area 1 Police Division, which comprises Western parishes. 25% were seized in the Area 4 Police Division, the parish of Kingston and some areas of St. Andrew. The remaining 31% of the firearms seized were in the Area 2, 3 and 5 police divisions. Through a partnership with Haitian law enforcement teams, 13 firearms destined for Jamaica were also seized. The Get the Guns campaign is aimed at confiscating illegal guns and ammunition used by criminals to commit crime. The government is working to develop Kingston into a business tourism hub. The recent opening of the Courtyard Marriott Hotel, the refurbishing of Jamaica Pegasus, and upcoming renovation of the Hilton Hotel will assist in the process. Tourism Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil says these and other initiatives will position Kingston as a vacation spot for business elites. Dr. McNeil is therefore encouraging individuals to invest in Kingston. He was speaking at the recent commissioning of a new water feature at the Constant Spring Golf Club.
One of the things that really is a good marker of how you are as a country and your development is the green space that you have. So places like Constant Spring here in Kingston are very important to your city.
The water feature, partially funded by the Tourism Enhancement Fund, is one component of a $34 million project to upgrade the infrastructure of the Constant Spring Golf Club. And finally, the Labour and Social Security Ministry will be rebranding some aspects of its operations.
We are going to move forward in re-imaging this ministry, not for it to be seen just as a farm workers ministry, but we have to now look at the labor side, look at this ministry as being a critical part of the growth agenda.
Dr. Fenton Ferguson was speaking during a tour of offices associated with the Overseas Employment Program and the Program of Advancement through Health and Education Path. He also spoke with staff members and beneficiaries of various programs offered by the Labour Ministry. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
You as parish managers, you as regional managers know your role to do your inventory now, to see what you have and to mobilize the country. Outreach with communities, outreach with civil societies, outreach with the churches. That is what we are going to do. We are going to call on every single Jamaican. Look around your house, search your environment, find this mosquito.
Join the fight. Eliminate the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Stop the spread of dengue and chikungunya. And keep Jamaica Zika free.
The Agriculture Ministry has implemented several measures to strengthen farmers' resilience against the effects of climate change. These include the $1 billion Government of Jamaica Adaptation Fund program, which is assisting farmers with techniques to mitigate drought and landslides.
The Georgia Adaptation Fund program seeks to address the issues which speak to the vulnerability of our communities, particularly our farming communities. And this is where the overarching objective of the program, which is to increase the livelihood security of the population in these communities to increase the overall climate resilience of the agricultural sector. We have targeted 7 parishes to implement the agricultural component, and these parishes are St. Thomas, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, Manchester, St. Catherine, and Clarendon. We have so far implemented 99 on-farm small-scale drip irrigation systems across the 7 parishes. We have also instituted or implemented 17 rainwater harvesting systems using a variety of roof catchment systems as well as tanks and ponds. 3 irrigation and production productivity schemes in 4 parishes to include St. Thomas, St. Catherine, Trelawney, and Manchester. Approximately 176 small grants have been approved to our farming communities, where these farmers are assisted with production and productivity grants to assist them in the establishment of agricultural enterprises such as onion, Irish potato, sweet pepper, among other crops. We have also established 5 demonstration plots, that's land husbandry demonstration plots, in which we have demonstrated or illustrated best practices in terms of land husbandry, where farmers are taught the new technology as well as improvement in their existing technology to seek to practice sustainable developments on the land to make sure that their resilience is enhanced in terms of their response or their adaptation to climate change. We seek to build the capacity of both our extension staff as well as our farmers to implement these best practices on their individual holdings. Building the capacity is a very critical component of this program, where we, through institutional strengthening, we work with our RADA extension officers to provide them with training in terms of best practices as to how they transfer climate smart practices or technologies to their farmers. In pursuit of that, we have just concluded a 2-week workshop, what we call a trainer of trainers in land husbandry best practices. 30 extension officers were drawn from across the length and breadth of Jamaica, 13 parishes to be exact. So having been trained, they would now be able to return to their community with enhanced capacity to help their farmers to adapt to climate change, employing these best practices that they have been taught. So far, over 330 farmers have benefited from the production and productivity components, where we have established just about 100 acres of onion and 400 acres of Irish potato, a total of 500 acres under this some component, where these farmers were assisted with grant funding for inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, and such like. We have also established 4 climate smart farmer field schools, where we are training so far since the second year of our program. We have trained 400 farmers, particularly in climate smart agriculture. And the project continues. There's much more to accomplish, and we are moving forward.
Driving in holiday traffic, or really any other time of the year, demands your constant attention and vigilance to make sure you get from point A to B safely. It's far easier to do that if you follow a few simple rules. Stay alert. Do not be distracted by your cell phone, any other gadget, or passenger while driving. When traveling at night, park in a well-lit area, and always keep your car doors locked, even when at a stoplight. Make sure you have enough fuel in case there's an emergency and you need to divert from your usual route. In the event that you feel threatened while driving, stay calm and do not react aggressively. Instead, drive to a busy, safe place or the nearest police station. Follow these few tips and navigate the busy streets safely this holiday season, and indeed at all times.
The agriculture sector has recorded growth during the last 2 quarters, and the government intends to keep that trend going. A deterrent that Agriculture Minister Derek Kelliher is seriously addressing is predial larceny, and we now tell you how that has been going.
Farmers, let us be serious about predial larceny. It is affecting all of us. If you are aware of incidents of predial larceny, make contact with your local police station or call Crime Stop at 311. Predial larceny is everybody's business.
And the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit is doing more than just talking about the problem. They're actually in the field, working with farmers to protect their livelihood from predial thieves.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
The agriculture sector suffers losses of $6 billion each year due to predial larceny. The theft of their produce and farm animals is robbing farmers of significant income. It's also putting the public at risk of health complications caused by unfit meat and crops. For example, crops that might have been sprayed just before the theft or animals slaughtered in unsanitary conditions. But with the establishment of the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit in March, agricultural security is being heightened.
The persons who are stealing, the persons who are committing the act of predial larceny, or as we call it, farm terrorism, once we find you, we will ensure that we take swift action, swift and decisive action in terms of prosecutions.
The unit is headed by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and is housed at the Agriculture Ministry. They have been applying strategies that represent a model for success.
Since the establishment of the unit, we have formed strategic alliances. We have been doing operations monthly, at least 4 operations monthly, geared at going after predial thieves, setting up strategic vehicular checkpoints along the roadway in the different parishes, just to ensure that we enforce the Agricultural Produce Act, Predial Larceny Act, the Unlawful Possession of Property Act, and all of those acts that we use to support our fight against predial larceny. We have also been forming strong relationship across the island with farmers to give them that sense of security, to remove that perception that, hey, we're facing some significant challenges and nobody is doing anything. So we ensure that we are there for the farmers in relation to court cases. Whenever they are going before the court, we ensure that we attend court and we are there with them just to show that sort of support.
Operations conducted between March and June 30 of this year revealed major achievements by the unit. These include the recovery of over 170 assorted animals. Over 4,000 pounds of assorted meat not certified by the Public Health Inspection Division were removed and destroyed by the unit. It is this level of action by the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit that is assuring the farmers and the general public that government is serious about protecting the sector from farm theft.
We are hell-bent on going after the major players that are contributing to this predial larceny problem. And these are mainly the end users, the persons who are purchasing the stolen produce. If we can dismantle that market, then of course we will significantly disrupt predial larceny and predial thieves in terms of their operations.
Proposed amendments to the Predial Larceny Act, which are now before the Parliamentary Council, will give added support when passed. The amendments will broaden the definition of predial larceny to cover the theft of livestock, including fish, increase the fines for breaches under the Agricultural Produce Act and the Predial Larceny Prevention Act, and simplify procedures for registering and licensing all handlers of agricultural produce.
We want the act to be less cumbersome, in the sense that when an offense is committed in relation to farm theft, we don't want to be after pulling from different legislation in order for us to commence investigation.
Within its first 4 months of operations, the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit has been able to provide a sense of trust and security to farmers. Their face-to-face approach to the fight against predial theft has seen them visiting more than 50 farms island-wide and holding over 30 community meetings.
The mandate of the unit going forward and how they intend to function without prejudice, I think is a good move, and it will be a very effective unit.
The farmers are now at a place where they realize that something is being done, that somebody is listening to their cry and their plight and is willing to do something in response to what they are facing. They are feeling that sense of security. They are feeling that sense of somebody's there to protect our interests. They are feeling that sense of we can now invest in this sector because something is being done as it relates to predial thieves who have played the sector for so long.
And so with each passing day, the task of ensuring that sustainable development takes place in the agricultural sector is being enforced by ensuring that farmers are provided with security and see justice when criminals attack their livelihood.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Original.
Are you being promised lots of money, trips overseas, marriage, gifts, and other benefits without strings attached? What of jobs with excellent salaries but require no experience? You could become a victim of human trafficking, modern-day slavery, where you're forced to work or perform sexual favors. Remember, not everything that glitters is gold. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise, open your eyes, spot them, stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
If you had to choose between work and staying home with your family this Christmas, which would it be? For me, it would definitely be to stay home. But we have some civil servants who, without hesitation, every Christmas are on the job, helping to save lives and properties.
The joy of unwrapping presents, the fellowship of family dinners and get-togethers, the mellow vibes of liming with friends. Feel-good opportunities abound at Christmas. But while most people are off the clock enjoying the festivities, there are others on duty, providing essential services 24/7.
My name is Damon Lewis. I work with JUTC. Since 2001, I have worked every Christmas.
I am Nadine Rowe Fisher. I am a nurse manager at the Kingston Public Hospital. Coming out to work on a Christmas holiday, I have mixed feelings because naturally I want to be home with my family and my loved ones to share the festive season, but the reality is I have to go to work.
It is very important to have fire brigade persons working during the holidays because as they would always say, it's a silly season. And you know, crazy, unexpected things happen.
Essential service workers like these civil servants are always on call, whether it's a regular workday or the most wonderful time of the year. By necessity, they are required to ensure that crucial services are always available for the people of this country.
To be working on a Christmas holiday, it gives me joy to interact with passengers. It's Christmas and people want to go around with their families or friends to enjoy themselves. Not to say that we don't want to go and enjoy ourselves, but we are providing a service. So it's an important part of our jobs to go out there and deliver what we are supposed to do.
If I'm rostered to work on that day, then you know we tend to want to enjoy ourselves prior to that day or you know post December 25th. So just to ensure that we enjoy what is left of the holiday or what is to come of the holiday.
If I have to come to work on a holiday, I kind of tell myself not to plan anything in detail that I'm going to go anywhere that will be occurring at the time when I should be on duty. So it makes it a little bit easier for me.
At the workplace, holidays like Christmas can be hectic for some public servants. Take the police and nurses, for example. Statistics show a spike in road crashes during the festive season, And for nurses, that often means more road crash victims to treat.
You may come, nothing happens, thumbs up for that, but if somebody should really have a problem, you will start to know that they came to the facility and it is closed because everybody went off to have holiday.
These hard-working men and women often have to deal with difficult situations at a time when most people are off enjoying themselves.
There was this child who he went along with his friends to the beach. His parents weren't informed of where he was going. And apparently, according to what was reported to us, he got into some difficulties in the water. And his little friends, they just panicked, they ran. And then they came back and they told an adult what had happened. We actually attempted visitation and it was just sad. He did not pull through.
Corporal Hamilton has a similar story, but with a pleasant outcome.
We were at the station one afternoon when we got a call that there was a house on fire. When we responded and we went to the scene, there was this dwelling house on fire and everybody was just scampering around. So when we checked to ascertain as to if everybody was accounted for, they were saying that no, there is a child, a small child, that has not been accounted for. And we immediately went into rescue mode. A couple of us went in and we searched the entire building and we found the child on the bed, just huddled up trying to escape the heat, and we grabbed him and we ran out of the building.
Moments like those help to strengthen their resolve, motivating them to keep watch, to provide life-saving services to their fellow men.
I enjoy my job, so I come to work each day and I look for ways and means so I can help to enhance somebody else's life, and I've been doing that for the past 15 years with no regrets.
Corporal Hamilton enjoys doing his job. I am one that strives to do my job to the best of my ability. I've always given 100% to what I do.
I love to know that I transport somebody from here to there and they greet me well, I greet them back, I deal with them the way they're supposed to be dealt with.
Despite this love and dedication, working at Christmas can be hard for these committed civil servants. Still, they rise to the occasion.
To cope and to really survive in this type of environment where so many traumas and sad cases, you have to be able to sometimes just put yourself aside and you deal with the situation. Sometimes when you're finished, you have to get a debriefing and you really talk about what really happened.
As firefighters, we can't be too soft in carrying out our duties because then that would bring our emotional side in too much, which would render us, not doing our duties as effectively as we'd want to. So we have to, grieve with whosoever is suffering that loss and move on.
This Christmas, as you gather with your family to devour a delicious holiday feast, give a thought to the men and women who are manning police stations, treating patients in hospital, responding to fire calls, and safely transporting passengers to their destinations. Civil servants on duty at Christmas.
A word of wisdom for the season. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Be kind, share love and happiness, and most of all, let peace reign. Let's protect each other. Jamaica Magazine is on again tomorrow, so tune in. In the meantime, you can stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. Keep sending your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I am Theodore Henry. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.